Hello, everyone. Gonna do just kind of a quick video here talking about some of the records that I've picked up over the month of October. You know, for some time now, I haven't really done vinyl finds videos with any regularity. It's just something that I had decided a while back that I didn't really want to make this channel about that, and I didn't want to make videos solely about that. I didn't want to get caught up in it. I wanted to kind of do things where I talked more about just the music in general. And then it's just been a lot harder for me to make videos with any frequency throughout much of 2021 and into this year. It's just been, life just gets in the way. So what was I doing again? Oh yeah, I was talking about albums that I picked up in the month of October. And the reason why I've decided to do this one is because these were records that I found out of town. It just wasn't another trip to Charlotte or whatever. They were just kind of random steps into record stores while I was out of town. Me and my wife and the kids, we annually, as a lot of people do that live where I live, we drove up the mountain about a little over 2 hours away. We went to the Boone, North Carolina area, Boone Blowing Rock, and to see, the leaves change and the foliage up in the mountains. It's beautiful when fall starts to happen here. We went into downtown Boone, and there's a record store there that I had been to before, and it was the previous year when we went up to the mountains for a day trip. But I didn't have that much time, and I promised my wife that I wouldn't spend a ton of time in there, so I only walked in, perused for about 15 minutes tops, picked up a Steve Gunn album that I probably could have ordered from the label, but it was only $15 in the store, brand new, so I picked it up and walked out. It's called 641 RPM in Boone, North Carolina. So I went in this time. I asked my wife if I could spend a little bit more time. Went through kind of the new used arrivals. They didn't have a ton. They had some used records up on the wall. I just kind of wanted to spec out some of the things that I thought that I had remembered seeing before, which was kind of like the specialty stuff, the kind of the boutique labels, things like that. They have a ton of that stuff. And they have records with like recommendations written on stickers, like placed on the records. Things like, if you like this, you'll be into this, blah, 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 that type of stuff. And it's really, really cool. The guy that runs the store really puts a lot of effort into it. And he had a whole section over by the wall, one of the walls closer up to the counter where you check out. And that whole section is called Music for Heads. And it's kind of like out there Psych and kraut and electronic and minimal stuff. I saw the owner, talked to the owner, and told him that, you've just got a really, really cool curated store here. Like, I can tell, like, that you really put your effort into it. And we started chatting for a while, and I found this Brostburn Dubon. I think that's how you say it. This was a record that Dom talked about in his Psych 100. And the sample that he had played in the video was just really caught my attention. And I thought it might be something that I'd be into, kind of like exploring. And it was just one of those that I had burned into my brain. I'm not as good as a lot of other people with like cataloging stuff in my brain, but this cover is kind of hard to forget. And when I saw it, this is a reissue, it's a bootleg reissue on Phoenix Records. But I had looked it up at the time when Dom talked about it. Originals are impossible. It's one of those. And even the Phoenix, you can't really buy Phoenix records anymore on Discogs. when I went around perusing certain record stores that I knew that would sell Phoenix records, even online, didn't have this. I think it was pressed in 2012 for the first time, and I just don't think it's been repressed a lot. So I was amazed that it was in there, and I grabbed it immediately. I think this is awesome. It's very primal. The drums and the percussion are really like what I love the most about it. There's not a ton of like overt melody in it, but it's still the kind of thing that you can kind of get lost in. I like to have certain albums like that I can just kind of pull off the shelf every once in a while, and this is one of them. And now, but yeah, Brostburn, it's Japanese, labeled Kraut, heavy psych. I almost think it defies this type of genre descriptors, but yeah, not a lot is known about them. But it's this is amazing, and I was super happy to find it. So the other one that I'd grabbed almost immediately was this press of Calling Out of Context by Arthur Russell. I earlier this year had bought Another Thought from the spring cleaning sale on Light in the Attic. They had that as one of the records. It's not a Light in the Attic release, but it was a, you know, they run distro for a lot of other stuff, and so they had Another Thought, and I absolutely love that album, and I wanted to get some more Arthur Russell, so I saw this and grabbed it. So again, once I started talking to the owner, and he saw the records that I had pulled, and we were kind of talking about some of the things that I've been getting a little bit more into recently, and he started to talk about like newer stuff, you know, and you know, we talked about International Anthem, and he brought up the label Astral Spirits. Had every release by them over in its own section. A lot of those records were only like $15. I think that's kind of experimental, out there kind of stuff, minimal, some based in jazz, some kind of based in electronics. But there's a lot of other stuff that I've sampled some of it, and I have the intentions of maybe grabbing some of the records that I've heard off of that label. So then one of the labels he asked me if I'd ever listened to any of the stuff off of was the Guru Brain label, which was started by Kikagaku Moyo, the band from Japan, the Psych band. The Sam at the Vinyl Douche was the first person that I ever saw talk about that band, and then I've seen some others since talk about them. Steve Carlson's shown some of their records that he's picked up over time. This guy at this record store, he had every release on the label in its own section. And he asked if I had ever heard of this group, Manami Deutsch. Again, another Japanese band. This is krautrock, just like heavy focus on the Motorik kind of beat and rhythm. Make you think of certain songs off of, you know, Noy records. He had every single one. I said, do you recommend one of you know, over the other? And he was like, no, just whichever one you like the cover on the best, just pick it. But this was the debut, so I just decided to go with the debut, and that was great. That's the last thing I need is another label to to go down a rabbit hole with. They don't have that many releases though, so I think maybe, you know, if I could just pick up a few here or there. But this is excellent. I know that Bill at the Vinyl Verse, I had mentioned this to him already. I think he would really, really like it. Anybody that's into krautrock, Dean, my buddy Dean, I think would like this a lot. So that was a really, really great store. And I would love to go back up there more than once a year, you know. I'm thinking about reaching out to him and seeing if I can just kind of stay in contact. Maybe he might ship me some stuff. The prices, again, were absolutely amazing. There were so many records in there, brand new, under $20. I would say the average price on any of the records was about 20. Very, very cool. A really nice guy too. Kind of a quiet dude, but a really nice guy, and enjoyed talking to him. All right, so another trip that I had taken was out to Bald Head Island, which is in the near the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Was there with some friends of mine, a bunch of old dads getting together, you know, just hanging out in a remote beach area, pretty exclusive kind of island. One of our friends, his family has had a house there since the late 80s, early 90s. It was just a beautiful place, great to be with really good old friends. Had a wonderful time. So when I left, I decided that I would swing up to Wilmington. It was about 20 minutes away. I decided to just check out, see what kind of record stores were in Wilmington. And there were two that I found. One was Gravity Records, and the other one was Record Bar. So I went to Gravity first. It's in an older part of Wilmington. And I just kind of parked on the side of the street, walked down to it, and I walked in, and it was a decent store. They had a really small kind of selection of newer stuff, so it was mostly used records. I stumbled upon this first, which is a Tony Rice guitar. This is a weird one because it's like kind of like a Frankenstein copy. I can't remember the actual record label name. It's KBA Records is what it's, but I think it's like, that's just the abbreviation. I can't remember the exact label, but this is a 74 press. So it's an original press, but it's in a jacket on Rebel Records, which is one of the later represses from 3 or 4 years later. Who gives a shit about all that stuff? But anyway, whatever, it's there. So this was Tony Rice, first album. It's very raw sounding. So really happy to have this because I have a few of the other early Tony Rice unit albums. So I was really glad to find that. And it was a really good price, like $15, I think. I was stoked to find this. I never see records on this label, much less from this woman, at least around this era. I see a lot of her later records, but Candy Staton, and this is her debut album, I believe, right? Or is it the second? On Fame Records, the Muscle Shoals record studio, Rick Hall, produced and arranged by Rick Hall. So this has like members of the Swampers, the Muscle Shoals rhythm section, whatever you want to call them. The early Candy Staton stuff is some of the best rhythm and blues soul out there. I was just so happy to find this, and a really good, reasonable price too. It was like $40, and it's in decent condition. So it's not like I bought like a VG minus record for $40. These go pretty high on Discogs now. What records don't go for ridiculous amounts of money on Discogs now? But I just never see any of her early stuff. I see a lot of the later 70s stuff from her, but not this. One of my favorite finds this year for sure. Went over to Record Bar, which I believe is a record store that used to have another location in Wilmington and used to be kind of the record store in Wilmington. Now they're in a smaller space in a shopping center. A lot more newer stuff. They kind of seem to be that kind of store that stocks like newer records for folks. They had a lot of that up front. Their used section was pretty cool. They had some nice stuff in there. Really expensive. Even the new stuff was, some records were in there were like $4 or $5 more than what I would be able to get them for at Lunchbox here in town. The used prices were pretty out there. I was able to find a couple here that for a decent price. One of them was this album, Ike and Tina Turner's working together. Kind of the kind of penultimate Ike and Tina album. was from 71. You know, has Proud Mary on it. This is one I've just never had in the collection. Generally when I've seen it, it's never been in that great a condition. This is in a really good condition, and it's a 71 press. Then they found this Roy Ayers Ubiquity Vibrations. They had the other one. What's the other one that everybody wants? The Love in the Sunshine, or whatever it is, whatever the hell it is. The one with the really kind of cool cover on it that I've seen lots of people show. That's like a super expensive record now. And they had like a $75 price tag on that, so I wasn't gonna get that. This one was a lot more reasonably priced. It was around like, you know, $13, $14. It's good. It's actually got some really great tunes on it. But then there's some others that, you know, are kind of all right. You know, on the fence about it, whether I might hold on to it. And then this one, which was cool to find because it had a very desirable audiophile pressing release, repress earlier this year. It was Out There by Eric Dolphy. This is the OJC pressing record bar in Wilmington. Is that like it's a decent store. If I lived in Wilmington, that would be a place that I guess I would frequent. But the prices, man, whew, they were just really high. And I don't think you don't really have to be that high. So yeah, I'll finish up that 70s stuff at some point. I'm just kind of not very inspired to do it anymore. I'll finish 77, 78, 79 at least. And then if I'm done, but I'm not doing any more after that, I don't think. And what I might do is I might do them on Instagram or something. I might post them on Instagram. So if you just watch my videos and you're interested in following me on Instagram, it's the Digital Gramophone on Instagram. I hope everybody's doing well. It's been good seeing some people. Again, more recently, Sherv's back, making a few videos here and there. And Fred, good to see you, and come hang out on the live stream, late at night. Hope your record sale went well the other day. Now I'm just talking to individuals on my through video. They probably aren't even watching this video. All right, bye.
Digital gramophone makes no sense.